Who in their right mind, whether you're a judge or not, wants TDA, a recognized terrorist organization, to create havoc, to unsettle the United States through the use of fentanyl to kill thousands of Americans? They are enemies of this country, and President Trump treated them as enemies, and we did exactly what we should have done.
Criticism that the Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 other times. They were all during times of war. Do you feel that you're using it appropriately right now?
Well, this is a time of war because Biden allowed millions of people, many of them criminals, many of them at the highest level. They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. It's an invasion.
You say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
Should President Trump ignore the courts, right? That's kind of the big question. Let's actually make that the question of the day. So 1776 at humanevents.com, 1776 at humanevents.com. What are your thoughts on President Trump ignoring these injunctions from district courts? Now, a lot of people will say, okay, just ignore them all. Just go ahead and ignore them all. Get rid of them. They're ridiculous. Just throw them out, get them out of here. Who cares? He's the president. All right. And in a sense, right, there's certainly legal standing for that because, well, Article 3 of the Constitution does not lay out any enforcement mechanism for the judiciary to restrain the executive. It is Article 2 where the executive must, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed and swear an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. It's not the judiciary. In fact, in the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton, remember the left? They're supposed to love Hamilton. Oh, Hamilton, he's so good. He's so great. We love Hamilton. Hamilton. Well, he says that the judiciary is, quote, the least dangerous branch because it lacks the sword of the executive or the purse of the legislature. This is Federalist number 78, as written by Alexander Hamilton. He argued that it depends on the executive to enforce the judgments of the judiciary, suggesting a relationship of persuasion rather than command. This would align with the English common law tradition at the time, where courts advised the crown but lacked coercive power over it. The Constitution's framers, wary of centralized authority after the Revolution, intended a similar dynamic. The judiciary could warn the executive of unconstitutional acts, but ultimate accountability rested with the executive oath and the people's elected representatives as outlined in the Constitution explicitly. So what does that all mean? That all means that the courts can argue, that the president has overstepped his bounds in terms of the Constitution. But here's what's really interesting about this case, where you have a use case where this district judge is saying that, well, hold on, I don't think that the president's action holds up with this law itself. So the legislature has given the president the ability to use the Alien Exclusion Act, but he should only do so in specific times. Well, the question then that would eventually come up is on what ground, right? So on what grounds? Are you saying that the law itself is unconstitutional, or are you saying that the law needs to be fixed? Now, there's a lot of question about this, right? And I do think, I'll take it back and I'll take it to the higher level here for a second. I love these images. Show as many images of these as possible of the mass deportations. Here's my Lenten daily confession, by the way. I love the deportation videos, and I can't get enough of them. The only problem is I need more. I need more, baby. More. So come on, Daddy Tom, that Daddy Tom Homan. Let's get him out. Let's get them all up there. And Secretary Kristi Noem just doing the absolute Lord's work. But here's the thing, right? The thing with these videos, and as much as I want to see more of them, and as much of them as possible, it does make sense that the president shouldn't just completely ignore the judiciary. No, you wouldn't want that either. What you want is a president that is operating within the confines of the legal structure, of course. And what does that mean? Well, certainly that means immigration on national security purposes. This is absolutely a clearly defined area where the commander-in-chief has broad unilateral ability to wage and wield power as the executive. Of course he does. When it's the national security, that's through his power as commander-in-chief. And no, you don't get the ability for all of these hundreds of district judges to decide that they get to be the commander-in-chief. They're not. They're simply not. Now, if there are going to be court cases, sure, there can be court cases. But I think it's very smart for the administration to force this fight. That's exactly what's happened here. Obviously, I would have been very upset if those planes had turned around after they had already gotten into international waters all the way over the Gulf of America. No, you're in international waters. You're done, right? You're out. You've already been deported. You've already effectively deported them at that point. What would be the point of bringing them back? They're outside the jurisdiction of the United States and outside the jurisdiction of U.S. courts. So I commend the administration for this. I think it's a fight that's going to be brewing, and I think that's very smart to do so along lines like immigration and national security that are clearly delineated by another 18th century document called the U.S. Constitution.